Welcome back, everybody, to the second half, the Siege of Middenheim. We're going to go ahead and unmute ourselves here in a second. Hope you all are enjoying so far. 2 more hours of this. Hopefully it'll be just as awesome. Kind of hit the climax a little bit early. Session today. See what happens next. Hello.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi, I'm playing Divinity.
Good. Good to know you're distracted.
I'll stop now, don't worry. I was just going towards Charla, my bay.
Yeah,
Which you bastards murdered.
we totes killed her for all our stuff last time.
Not once, but twice.
Why? She has multiple
Well,
resurrection scrolls every single time.
To be fair, we killed her the first time kind of accident.
You accidentally tried to steal her shit, didn't you?
No, she was undead, so we thought we had to kill her.
Oh, why?
Totally reasonable.
Because she's undead.
She's so adorable and cute.
Strongly disagree.
Moral of the
Wait.
story, we learned that Jackson has a thing for necrophilia. There we go.
Gross.
No, I have a thing for, like, contrasting shit. Because you gotta admit, she has one of the most adorable voices.
Maybe, I don't know. I forget her voice.
Listen to it. So about to talk to her.
However, I am more interested in this immediate moment finding out.
Agreed.
So I think that we close we fade to black on the south gate for just a hot minute, and I think we zoom in on. So Morella, you're taking the scouts into the alt market, right? That's the thing you were doing.
Indeed.
Okay. And Hannibal, you said you were going with the lizardmen the same direction?
Yeah, I was basically going to rally them.
Yeah, so the you guys are moving through. Obviously the others are with you, quote unquote. But they're probably slightly behind, not towards like the vanguard of this force that's moving through, because you guys are trying to move through. I would assume the scouts, at least, their goal is not to fight here. Their goal is to kind of make it through the district, to get to the south gate as quickly as possible, in order to provide their assistance to the force there, right? Like if they're not going to go out of their way to fight anybody here, not dissimilar to Kree's line of thinking, although Kree's line of thinking also kind of constituted the fact that he can't be stealthy. He was kind of going loud. So I think that in this instance, I'm gonna make a stealth check for the scouts, because I think that they are probably the highest stealthers here.
Can I use my inspiration on them?
No, they cannot. They cannot receive your inspiration. Unfortunately, but they have a +6, so
It's a little higher than me.
they're
Could be wrong.
doing okay here. Let's see how they roll. So, with the deftness of a highly trained special forces unit, of which, by the way, they're not really. I would say Scout Company is mostly consisted of like shepherds who know how to shoot a bow, and are really good at like remaining quiet. Is probably the extent of the elite in the Scout Company. But they all understand the importance and need for what they are doing. And so perhaps, Morella, perhaps your presence, along with Hannibal's, is like bolstering them to do this great act. Like, you know, your leadership quality is, pushing them forward in such a way that that they are navigating through the streets while avoiding the bulk of any type of enemy that would encounter them in great numbers. So what I want to know is when this moment that I described right before our break, when it happens, what is the reaction from the group of you that are traveling that way down there, and then the group also behind? But first, I want to get like Morella and Hannibal. What is your reaction? What do you think has happened at this juncture? You know, do you make any tactical decisions based on the information that you have, of which is lightning appears to have struck the south gate? That's about the information that you have.
So, when the scene
Fuck
happens,
it, divine intervention. Let's go.
I look at Hannibal, and then look at my spear. I didn't do this.
Yeah, kind of fucking figured.
Jericho's just looking around to see if he can spot Aelin.
You know what? Fuck it. This sounds like something with the gods. Let's go.
No.
Yeah, and I think Jericho, if you're like kind of like, you know, trotting up to him with this girl in tow, Aelin and Daniela, maybe we flash back to you like kneeling in prayer after this happens. Like, do the two of you like kind of like look at each other and then like look south and then look at each other and then look south?
Oh yeah, it's 100% one of those anime moments, right? Where it's like a did I do that kind of a situation.
Yeah.
Did I do that?
But yes, exactly. But I also think that Aelin knows there's more to it than that, right? She knows that wouldn't necessarily be the mode in which her deity would choose to represent that.
Your spell would not smite down from the heavens.
Exactly. So she is also a bit curious as to what other deity has also decided to intervene. So yeah, Danielle and I are definitely doing the look back, look at each other, look back, look at each other kind of a thing.
Yeah. And so I think like maybe you see them like they come like kind of running out of an alleyway, Jericho, and like looking in the direction of where this great explosion has occurred. The second great explosion that the city has suffered within a 4-hour period.
He doesn't say anything. He just sort of nods at them if they happen to glance his way.
Aelin wants to do the I didn't do it, but she doesn't.
Well, I don't know what's happening, but something is obviously kicking off.
Let's not miss it.
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean,
Full speed ahead, guys.
Orange sparks and then Cahill's green sparks.
Yeah. So that's the thing you did see. Like you saw orange sparks, and so it indicates that like whoever's at the west gate is on the move, right? Like they're coming to assist. And your group probably didn't do that simply because you're trying to remain stealthy, right? Like you're trying to remain unnoticed. Obviously, that would give away your position.
The longer they don't know that we're sneaking troops in from the east gate that shouldn't be passable, the better.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
So, as you guys continue your travels, it's going to take some time to traverse it. More time than would normally be just to like walk or trot, jog there. And you guys are a pretty fair distance away as well from the south gate. Yeah. And so, do you take them anywhere, through any specific areas? Do you take them through any specific locations, or give them any instructions during your travels? Any of the player characters.
I'd imagine that we go towards entrance 3 location, and to see if we can meet with resistance along the way.
Okay, yeah, sure. Maybe you're trying to gather resistance along the way.
Yeah, essentially, rally as much as we can for a time being, since we're going towards the south to
Yeah.
possibly retake it.
I have a
So-
question. Does anybody seem to kind of react to this lightning in a different way than everybody else?
What do you mean? Like,
Do the lizardmen seem excited by it?
I think that there was some shock, as would be normal with a lightning strike, within that close of a vicinity, like the kind of like jump scare almost reaction. But I don't think these people are aware that it might have been caused by an intervention of some sort. They might just think, oh, there's a rainstorm that moved in, like there's lightning.
Okay, I'm just gonna do my best then, commanding them forward, despite the language barrier.
Yeah,
There's
yeah.
more than one lizard god.
Right, exactly. In fact, some of them are probably like thankful for rain and thunder, right? If they're Chotek worshippers. The lizardmen, there's probably some that like look up to the sky and like you see them do like a symbol with their hands, like blessing the thunder god and all of his infinite wisdom.
I have a question.
Yeah.
The small posse of clerics that,
Yeah.
just raised a bridge, kind of. Are they needed to maintain the bridge, or
So,
could I take them with me?
You could take them with you. They are going to be mostly useless.
Because of how drained they are?
Yeah, I think that very quickly you realize that like some of them are barely able to stand after the energy they've expended.
Perhaps that would be why Aelin would take them under
Sure.
her wing, because she knows that, but okay.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think that like they're probably able to like kind of slowly move, and so it probably leaves you to kind of fall back behind like the majority of the force that's moving forward, right? Like trying to guide these individuals. Yeah, because they definitely don't have any other spell slots. That burned all of them on all of their spell slots that ever existed for the day. If we're speaking mechanical terms.
Fair enough.
Fair enough. They did a literal miracle. But yeah, no, I think that they're requiring some assistance to kind of maneuver and move through the city streets. But luckily, the rest of them are clearing everything out along their path, so you have a pretty safe journey through there.
Yeah. Perhaps if our trail leads us past the garden.
Yeah, certain. Well, like, so it would. I'm using air quotes, right? Like, the
garden we
you
only
were
sort
given.
of think we know it exists or not.
Yeah.
I might inquire to them more about that on our slow walk by, considering they are.
Yeah. So
tired.
do you ask one of them about Ulrich's garden?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. Why don't you roll me a religion check? And this is, I think, to speak intelligently about it, so that you don't like offend them in some obscure way.
Okay.
Do you want to spend inspiration?
Well, I sure would if I had it,
Oh,
but
Jesus.
way to rub salt in the wound.
Would you like to use my inspiration? If I have it. I don't remember if I do. I don't have it, so...
There you go. High five for not having inspiration.
Jericho
All right,
has it.
I have it.
Well, I mean, to be fair, I don't know who would even be with me when I ask this, because I'm apparently lagging behind. So.
Also, I would definitely not be near you.
Of course you wouldn't. Fuck.
Yeah.
Yeah, so much better that we don't have it when we need it.
Yeah. Go ahead and make your roll.
I did roll.
Oh, it's a 13. I'm sorry, I didn't even see it. So I think that you tell me how you inquire about this.
Well, I mean, I think that at some point, Aelin's mind is still on the weirdness of the rest of her task, right? She found these people, but she knows that there's still this other lingering component. And we happen to be walking right by the general area in which I think it's supposed to be. what better time than to ask these two or several around me? Perhaps I would ask something about, in my search to find you all, I heard of this garden. Isn't it supposed to be in this area? Something as inconsequential as that.
Yeah, and I think that they kind of, a couple of them probably look at each other and they probably like chuckle a little bit, and they say, well, they don't teach you very much about other religions down in Altdorf, especially Ulrich. They have, well, some animosity towards him there, all the preachings of Sigmar, but Ulrich's garden is a fabled place. It will reveal itself to only those it deems worthy. It would not be for us to say, but the last person to enter the garden was, perhaps 600 or so years ago. Last person to even remember its location, in fact. What we are trying to say is, it is possible you're chasing a fool's notion. The garden is an enigma.
Well, this enigma, as you say, was a major part of a vision I had recently. Apparently it's going to play quite a big part in, she just kind of gestures around, in all this. I know that you are very secretive and keep all of your stories close at hand, but if there's anything you can tell me, might save a lot of people.
Do you want to try and persuade them?
Yes, but I'm very bad at it.
Very well,
let's
Aelin.
see.
I will brag that I have inspiration in front of you.
Yeah.
I got inspiration.
I mean, by rights, we are allowed to
Sick.
transfer between
Oh.
characters.
Sick.
She got a 22.
Nice.
Yeah, so I think that they look and I think that another of the acolytes, he says, my friend did not mean to be crass. What we are simply saying is we cannot find it even if we tried. Would it be up to some, well, for lack of a better term, intervention by Ulrich himself? And one that can be said is, well, we have expended quite a bit of his power. May perhaps be to Ulrich's allies we must look. Fortunately, I believe that Shalya and him are quite distant on the spectrum of things. That is perhaps why it did not reveal itself to you, even in a time of need. If we found one who was perhaps more closely related to Ulrich, maybe it would reveal itself to them. Who can say? It is not like we control these things. I'm sure there have been aspects of Shalya that you have not been able to control or explain.
What are you talking about? Who sent you?
Bastard, who do you work for?
How does Aelin react to that?
I'm not entirely sure, actually. I mean, I think that her, she can't hide a whole lot, right? So I think exactly her kind of shock, but then also slight embarrassment, I guess, kind of comes across her face, and she just nods at them. I don't think she can actually form a response, as it were.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure, maybe that trails off with at least that morsel of information in your mind.
Yeah, but I do think after a pause, possibly a long, awkward moment.
Sure, yeah, a couple of blocks
like
later.
A couple of steps forward, possibly.
Yeah.
I think Aelin kind of regains her composure and just says, well, I might know someone who fits that bill. And then she just kind of tries to walk with a little more determination forward.
You power walk a little bit, and they just kind of like, I think they just kind of like look, and they just like look at each other, and they just shrug, right? Like it's kind of the reaction that they have, because like, that was awfully cryptic, but okay, weird Shalia priest lady.
Yep, that's about exactly what I want to occur.
So I think that for you, Jericho, as you're traversing, you're probably ahead of Aylin's group a little bit, with the main force, perhaps.
Keeping an eye out for them.
Yeah. I think that as you're walking, you find that the young teen has no trouble keeping up with you.
One of the things that Jericho would definitely do as soon as they were sort of on the move again would be ask her, what should I call you?
I think she kind of like looks at you and she says, well, perhaps by my name is what is given to one which they should be called.
Oh, good, you're sassy too. And what would that be?
I am Silni Rainrunner, of the clan Rainrunner, daughter of Jackson Rainrunner.
Jackson. Do any of these names mean anything to Jericho?
Rainrunner probably does. Roll a history check. It's not going to be particularly hard. It's very clearly an elven name. But I want to see, the history is going to be determined, maybe its
okay, well,
origin.
My modifier here is below 10, so I'm going to use inspiration.
Good. Great. Okay. Yeah, so, 15 is what I was looking for here. Rainrunner, and you probably know this because after some self-discovery, you perhaps looked into origins a little bit deeper. That is a pretty traditional dark elven surname.
Oh. Okay.
And I think that like the strange thing here is she just kind of like throws it out there.
Yeah.
And it's not particularly hard for you to recognize, which means that others who are trained to look for this sort of thing, it would be simple for them to recognize. And she just like no fear, just like, yeah, I'm from a dark elf clan. There it is.
Yeah.
It's not something you say in polite company at all, ever in the existence of anything.
Yep.
Like, yeah, my people torture and ritual sacrifice people. It's no big deal.
I'm a minion of chaos.
It's not particularly good dinner conversation.
Yeah, gotcha. Okay. I think Jericho does his best just to sort of roll with that, like it's not weird at all, and just sort of nods along. Right. Okay. Under the circumstances, again, for the sake of simplicity, given that there's a war on and it's hard to tell who's friend and who's foe right now, and you keep on considering hexing people, maybe just stick to your first name with any of these folks.
Yeah, and I think she kind of looks confused, and she says, I see. Clans do not mean much if you are not currently with them. I guess then Silni is the name.
Silni will do just fine. I'm Jericho, if I didn't already say that, although I think I did. Anyway. Wonderful.
She just kind of looks and she's like, I think like, when you say you're Jericho, she kind of like expects you to say more.
Yeah, he's not gonna.
Yeah.
He knows perfectly well he doesn't have an elvish surname. Well, at least he doesn't know of an elvish surname as he's associated with. So no need to get into that mess right now.
Yeah, and so I think that she kind of just like maybe shrugs and continues plodding along with you. She kind of like probably turns to look at you one more time and she goes, Jericho, if it is.
Yes.
How long ago were you born to this place?
Fair question. By my best estimate, that would have been maybe 26, 27, 30, 25 years ago.
Yeah, and I think she kind of like, her brow furrows a little bit, and she says, "You do not know when the matriarch of your clan gave birth to you."
There are a lot of things that I'm still working out. It's been a complicated time, and like I said, war on, hordes of undead destroying my city. I've had to sort of put some of my investigations into ancestry on hold for the time being. None of this seems to unsettle you at all, does it? Why are you here?
I think that she kind of like looks and she says, "Well, I was curious, of course."
Fair. Okay, fair. And the fact that you're... No, never mind. That's a ridiculous question. Good answer. Well, I think you'll find you will see and learn a lot more from this point on. Like I said, just by sticking close and sticking quiet. And yeah, she hasn't looked like she's hexing anybody, so he'll just drop it there, sort of mid-sentence, I think.
Yeah, and I think she just like, she kind of nods and she says, "Yes, to see the place of where I was born to. That was important to me."
Specific phrasing where she was born to seems curious. Again, anything that Jericho might take in meaning of that?
So I think that in Elven society in general, because even the Dark Elves and even the High Elves are kind of one with the natural order of things. Being born to a location holds a specific symbolism in Elven culture. You draw your power most often from where you are born from. You know, it's probably like something that's kind of ingrained in the DNA. For example, maybe the reason Jericho is so good with people is because he was born to a city, right? That has so many people, and it kind of forced him to interact and be the way that he is. Kind of like how we understand, like in human society, wherever you're born, wherever you're from, kind of changes your development and how you come up as a person. The elves believe it's a bit more kind of mystical, right? It's actual relevant to the location, not necessarily the surroundings.
Okay. Assuming that he's not seeing any potential traps along the way and that everybody seems to be moving on,
scouts,
he's probably just going
scouts are doing a great job.
Yeah, he's probably just going to continue sort of making cautious but idle conversation with Silney as they continue moving south.
Yeah. Cool.
Asking her what she thinks of it so far, that kind of thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that, like, the answers you get are interesting, right? They're like, she's like, "Well, when I arrived, the city was under the control of some other force. They recruited me to join them because of my skills. I felt it was a good opportunity to practice." Is probably what she says, right? Like that's what she gives as a description as to why she was here and working for occupiers. Also, it's reasonable to say that, like, somebody identified her as a dark elf and they're like, "Hey, an ally of chaos," right? Like, that's probably that's probably how that conversation went down at some point.
Fantastic. Okay. Yeah, I don't think there's anything else specific that I want to cover right now. We can. I'm all right with this moving along.
So, with the group of four of you, you're making good headway towards the south gate, and you'll arrive there kind of, I think, in media res of what's going on over there that we'll get to in a moment. But before you get to the action, is there anything specific that the group of you do during your walk, Hannibal or Morella or Aelin, besides what you've already done?
I'm riding on something. Can I be?
What would you like to be riding on? Is the operable question here.
I'm... Fuck it. Are there cold ones?
Not with you. You have the foot soldiers of the Skaven. Or Jesus, Lizardman. I said Skaven again.
Okay, I'm riding on someone's shoulders right now.
Are they Morella's?
I don't care. Someone. I might have commanded somebody.
As long as he's up high, so he's easy for the archers.
Well, no, it's so that I can focus on. I'm going to contact Shaltressa through Dane.
I mean, yeah, it depends, Morella. Would you continue carrying Hannibal? Because I don't think any of the lizardmen would have the.
It was a joke. I don't need to be carried. I'm going to be walking.
Okay. All right. So Dane kind of, joins you, and why don't you go ahead and roll me a medicine check?
This seems important. I'm going to use my Tides of Chaos.
You've already used your Tides of Chaos.
I have?
Yeah, you used it in the battle. It's still the same kind of.
But then I thought I restored it with Hex.
No, not that I was aware of.
I have one spell slot. Okay, I'll just take your word for it. I'll use Inspiration.
Okay. Okay. So with a 21 and a 21, you identify that Dane looks a little pale, more pale than he usually is. He appears to be kind of lagging a little bit, like his wings are fluttering. He's kind of having trouble like staying aloft a little bit. And he comes up and he's like, "Yes, master. Oh, what can I do for you?"
You may rest, and then I held up my hand for him to lay down on.
Yeah, and he kind of like sits down, like kind of cross-legged, and he's kind of like wobbling a little bit, but he steadies himself and he takes a deep breath.
I wish to speak to the mistress.
Yeah, and I think he kind of like looks up at you and he says, "I can attempt to contact her, but understand that after the energy that was expended, she will probably not respond."
I understand. I wish to just inform her of our success.
Oh. At the minimum, relay a message.
Very well.
And he kind of like his head, he like goes to lower his head, but it kind of just like falls. And he sits there for a moment and you wait, maybe 30 seconds passes, then a minute passes. Then I think you're watching, and Dane is snoring. He's falling asleep.
Shit, I offer him a little bit of kindness, and he takes advantage of it. Hannibal briefly considers throwing him to the ground. Then he just sets him on his shoulder and keeps walking.
Yeah, you just like put him in your little pocket or set him on your shoulder. Yeah, and he just like he kind of like curls up and like kind of tucks himself in like underneath your collar as a blanket. Continues sleeping. Yeah, I mean, I think you take that as either Dane is not powerful enough to contact her at this time, because remember, he is an entity of Shalia as well, so he's also affected by the tremendous strain you've put on her.
Hey, she did this to herself too.
Yeah, it's for a worthy cause.
Yeah, that's it. Though, other than the occasional boaster to the troops, let's go.
Yeah,
the gods are with us.
Yeah, and I think there's probably like a lizardman in the back that goes, "No human gods," and like spits on the ground.
Sure, those guys are dicks anyway.
Right.
You heard of Sigmar? Huge asshole.
Somebody probably says you're not wrong from the crowd.
Boom. Yeah, I finger gun that dude. Like, pa-pow, pa-pow, pa-pow. So, about this airline food.
So, Morella or... Yeah, so... What's the deal with airline food? Aelin or Morella, do you guys do anything else during your trek down to the South Gate?
I strangle Hannibal to death.
Okay, good, good.
Try it. Dimension door, bitch.
Great, moving on.
Shit, I don't have a spell slot. Magic missile.
Don't I have a shield that blocks the projectiles?
Nah,
We're never joining this fight.
I found it hilarious to me. I really did find this hilarious when I got my level sorcerer that I took magic missile.
Yep.
Seems reasonable.
But I'm trying to think.
I mean, Aelin would have power walked all the way to Morella, which I know Morella power walks way faster than Aelin does. So it was probably more like.
I wouldn't say power walking.
but-
I would say striding
striding.
with purpose.
Bitch strides.
Morella power walks. Let's be
Yes.
completely.
No,
clear.
it's not power walking.
And she does that thing where
I like how-
where she has her fists in like little like she's holding weights, but she's not holding weights, and they're like marching.
No,
Yeah,
not
she-
hold a shield and a spear.
God.
No,
I
she's
don't know.
doing
Aelin
that.
sounds like she knows what she's talking about here.
Right now, you sound like a grandma at the mall.
So does Morella magically transform into a tracksuit when she goes to travel to any location on foot? It's
Yeah,
like
he
one
obviously
of
becomes
those
Rocky from Rocky
90s
IV.
tracksuits that's like pink and baby blue.
No, not pink. Fuck no. She is not that type.
I mean, it used to be
No,
white,
it-
and there was the blood.
It's- it
Correct.
sounds like
Correct.
you'd be the type. You're
Also-
the old
The best thing to happen in that immediate moment was Will saying "yeah" as the first thing he said in like an hour. Just in case anyone missed that part. That was the best part for me personally. So Aelin, you eventually catch up to Morella.
Marilla, I have just something I'd like to speak with you about, just for a brief moment, if you would.
Yeah, she like orders.
Boy,
The-
you walk quite fast, Marilla. If we could just.
She orders the scouts to continue moving forward. What is it, Aelin?
She kind of, leans in a little bit so as not to just shout this amongst all the scouts and such. But I think that she would ask, you recall when I was searching for the clerics, I mentioned that one of the locations was called Urson's Garden. We were having trouble locating it, and I think I might have figured out a way to do so. She just kind of like stares at her, Ulrich, sorry.
I knew
You're
it.
Urson. But I fixed it, it's fine. And she just kind of like looks at you expectingly, like.
Do you need help finding it?
Aelin just starts nodding. She's like, yes, and I think you're the one who can find it.
I see. Very well. I will help you.
Great, it appears we're walking by it just right now. If you would.
Just like, do you take her head and just like look in directions?
I kind of just like grab her hand and just start like pushing her kind of in the general vague direction I believe it to be, because I don't actually know where it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Morella gets the idea, and she like, please allow me.
So, Morella, what are you doing to assist this search? Is Morella practical enough to just be like, I'm gonna look with my eyes, or is there something else?
In a sense,
you're-
yeah. In a sense.
Okay. What do you mean by that?
Well, what she's going to do is kneel and pray to Urson.
Okay.
And in this sense, I'm going to do just a simple prayer, but I'm going to use not can opening powers, but
Can opening powers would be pretty cool. Fair.
she is going to use a divine sense.
Okay. Cool.
Hey. So, yes, in a matter of sense, she is using her eyes to sense this
Cool.
presence.
She's using her eyes to sense this person. Do you mean looking?
Yes.
The divine sense of sight.
Good.
Bam!
Did it. Nailed it.
Jordan, I'd like
Yeah, yes.
I would like
Jackson.
to use godly sense to try to look for something.
Good,
I'll do it
good.
with my eyes now.
So you begin walking around with divine sense active. Go ahead and make me a perception check.
Sure thing.
You can do so with advantage.
Hey. Here we go. Oh God.
5 and a 2.
So I think that what happens here is as you begin to walk around, you hear like faint tinkling music, and you kind of like follow it around a corner, and it comes from like your right hand side, and you follow it around another corner, and you move around, and you search for like, I don't know, maybe 5-10 minutes. You're kind of like following this music, and Aelin, you're like trying to keep up and like walking through all these things, and eventually it kind of leads you out into this open street, and you see Jericho kind of like fiddling with his pack, like trying to adjust things inside of it, and you realize that that's kind of where like the music leads you to that point. So like, Marilla, you come out like all like looking at Jericho really intently, and Jericho, you're just like, you. Right, exactly.
Something wrong?
Aelin's like kind of to herself, talking like, "Oh, I thought for sure," and she just kind of like trails off.
Yeah. Morella's just like, it's nothing. It seems I'm not the best at finding things.
Yeah, and I think that as you turn away and continue, like, catching up with the rest of the group, I think you hear a couple of dull tones, Morella. Just like the sound of like a low kind of bass percussion, like maybe cymbals on the low end of the scale, like. And as you kind of like look around, you're not sure what it is. I think your divine sense is fading, but you get the feeling that you're in a location that has some power here to Urson, but you're just not sure where. And I think that unfortunately what's happening here is what's affecting you is the kind of ambivalent nothingness that affects this particular part of the city. When you like go to specifically look for Ulrich's Garden or whatever else that you try and do, and unfortunately you're unsuccessful this time, but I think that you get an idea that like there is something here, like maybe I need to come back.
Yeah.
When I'm not as urgently trying to run around and get to places and go save people, and maybe when I have some time, maybe when I have some downtime, I can come back here and look again and not roll on. Yeah.
Look, it's not my fault, alright?
Hey, the Urson has spoken that Marilla is not ready. That's what it is.
Man. Aelin, I like to see you passive wisdom thing. And that's your thing.
It's true. You are traditionally bad at wisdom.
Listen, okay. I asked you to do one thing. You had one job. One job.
Yeah, you can't do that job either. You don't talk about.
He has a condition, okay?
Can't make fun of the disabled, Marilla. That's not a good thing to do. Very immoral thing to do.
Right. Anyways.
Rude.
Yeah. So what I say to Aelin, after not finding it, is that perhaps let's just meet with Cahill's.
Cahill's?
Again.
Yeah, little baby Cahills. They're already running around. Just so you know, like 20 months have passed already.
When did that occur?
There's actually a time. There's a time dilation. Where you've already married and grown old.
So
And I still was the last to know that you were
speaking of gong
Shit's
shows,
great.
Yeah, speaking of
Right.
gong shows. Exactly.
Right. It comes full circle.
It does. We usually bring it all the way around in Siege. We usually do a pretty good job of that. So, I think that probably closes out our little narrative scene with all of those people trying to progress.
It's like
Which-
it ends like a Bugs Bunny thing where it's like and then like zooms in on a little pinprick.
Yeah, exactly. And so we see we open again to a much more carnage filled scene, where Kree, you have now become embroiled along with all of your allies, and Farron included, in a slog of combat, because the group of you charged in, and I think that we see the immediate aftermath of the incident that occurred before our break, where Kree, you're standing there, kind of, you've been blown back and you've fallen off Noct, and Noct is kind of like lying, like kind of muscling to try and get up, and this explosion has occurred, and we see that you look into like your where the lance was, and you're just holding ashes in your hand. And they kind of like fall through your fingers and blow away, and the sound is kind of dulled and muted around you because you can't, you were at the pinpoint of a lightning strike. So everything's kind of like that explosion noise that we hear in movies and TV shows and stuff, where like your ears are ringing and you can't really like identify what's going on. But you realize now that the gate has basically disintegrated. It is no more. The problem with that being is there was a large host of demons that had already poured through the gate to fight Cahill on the other side. So now they all turn and they see the gate destroyed, and they see your smaller force, and they begin to charge in. And Farron, you're still like leading. You're kind of back a little ways from where Kree is, with the Bear Riders, right? You're probably riding with them. And like, you now are in a fight for your lives. Kree, you quickly like have to like fight off some guy and jump back on Noct, and Noct like gets up shaking, and like you try to like tell Noct something, but like kind of like looks up at you like confused, like I don't know what to do, I can't hear you. And your men like are surrounding you, but they're getting like beat on by these demonic like faceless horrors. And it has turned from what was a glorious charging moment to we're in a little too deep and we're getting surrounded very quickly. So you two and your allies here. So for the sake of this, what's going to happen here, Farron, I'm putting you in as the commander position for the Bear Riders, and Kree obviously for the Lizardman Riders. And you're going to be arrayed against some forces here. Let me just find the exact ones that I think are the most appropriate here. Oh yeah, let's see here. A good one. This is one I haven't used yet. How about that? Yeah. I think that is okay. So this one. So there are two forces arrayed next to you. And let's go ahead and give them some red circles so that they are easily identifiable as bad. Bad, some might say to the bone. Also, if you hear that in the background, that's actual thunder. So if I just die instantly, what happens?
Got it. Don't worry, you will live on.
So I think that some of the elite that reacted quickly, I like how those colors mix and it makes a new color and it shows them engaged. That's super fucking cool. Thank you, roll 20.
I like how colors mix and they make color.
Yeah, well, do you see?
Damn it.
God, Will is savage tonight.
Do you see
Jesus.
the brown color that it makes?
He's been pushed too far.
Yeah,
You know,
Broken Will, apparently. Today's the day.
Today is the day.
when you mix green and red, it makes yellow.
And I decree the 1st of September is the day.
It's the 1st of September.
Lel is my response to that immediate.
Yeah.
So these guys start with an S. Let me go ahead and get them. Boop.
Was a glorious chuckle.
Thank you.
The most glorious of them all.
Okay, roll 20. I see how it is. We're not going to cooperate right now. That's fine. We don't need to cooperate. Fuck cooperation. So the group of you is beset. Farron, you're kind of atop your bear and like you're kind of getting rocked back and forth, and these bipedal demons with these spears are coming up and they're like stabbing at the bear, and you see that they have like these large spiny like these beards that are filled with like these barbed tentacles almost. And you see that like when some of the bear riders come down with their hammers, because a hammer is the traditional weapon for the bear riders. When they come down with their hammers, these tentacles like wrap around the weapons and kind of like hold them in place, and then they stab out with their spears, and they outnumber you, but only slightly in this particular scenario. Kree, your men are beset by these multi-legged demons that are basically just a mouth with legs. And they leap on top of each other and climb up the mounts, and then they like latch on to the riders, but also like you see them begin to like devour portions of the legs and armor and all of the other stuff that the mounts, and they're more of a swarm. They outnumber you. They outnumber you just kind of barely. Also, I just realized they are large. There you go. They're about the size of your mounts. Probably a little bit smaller. Yeah, so like they're kind of crashing in against you. But again, they outnumber you, but only slightly. If you had a full fighting force in this scenario, you probably would be about on par manpower wise, but since you've fought a massive battle up at the West Gate and then, charged through the city, you're a little bit on the back foot on this one.
Don't worry, we're
Hopefully,
on the way.
Cahill's forces are just right behind them, right?
Yeah, well, they're embroiled with the other forces that are on the bridge, because you've kind of pincered them in, which is good. But they also have a much stronger force than you and Kree are currently commanding. So essentially, it's a fight for your lives and hold out until it's the Battle of Helm's Deep in this scenario, right? Like hold until reinforcements can arrive or perish.
Ride out with me.
Yeah,
Ride out to meet me.
Exactly.
I think there's a very obvious choice here in that running away from one group and attacking only one group would be a good idea.
Yeah, I mean, like, the difficulty with that is they're going to follow you, but maybe, like, getting a decisive blow on one of the groups might cause them to kind of split off.
We are cavalry, after all. That's kind of our job.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And the guys on foot could not keep up with you, but again, you're also fighting in the city, right? Like Morella just said, like, fighting in the city is also going to limit what you're capable of doing here.
If it was planes, it'd be a different situation.
Entirely.
But again, this is your fight, man. You've got some awesome ideas for how to win it. I'm all ears. Cool.
Yes.
There we go. Are you speaking through a cup, Jackson? Are you like attached to a string on the other end of the universe?
How'd you know?
Get the fuck you want.
You sound strange.
No, I don't.
So this fight is happening on the main street over here, while this one's heading more towards the main.
Yeah.
gate.
So the lizardmen have rode up with you closer. The bears aren't quite as fast for your charge, so the bears are kind of settled behind you. And these like kind of berserkers with the tentacle beards, they've kind of in the chaos like charged past you to get towards where the bears are. And then these big lumbering, big mouth demons have started latching onto you and attacking you.
So I don't know exactly how big this road is, but I'm gonna send maybe a quarter of the lizardmen that I have with me to just go towards this road and just run through them.
Sure. Yeah.
Because I can't get in contact with the bear rider. I don't know what's up. All I know is they're being attacked as well.
Yeah. Like all you know is that you can see demons like fighting. You can hear probably screams of bears and demons on the other streets. But also your men are, obviously in some sticky pickles as well.
Yeah.
Cool. There we go. Okay. Got all that settled. So what I want everybody to do is, and this is everybody, by the way, including those not in this particular scene, we're going to use initiative to determine kind of when things are going to happen here, in what order they're going to happen. For those of you that are like approaching the battle, it'll be like identifying if there's anything wrong based on your proximity, maybe like some preparation, stuff like that. And then we'll see what happens then. So go ahead and everybody, it's clear. Go ahead and everybody roll initiative. Jesus, that was literally right outside my house.
Wow.
It wasn't right outside my house. It was probably like a 5-minute drive away to me.
I mean, it really sets the scene, so we're good.
Yeah, no, it is storming. So...
A plus.
Yeah. I actually caused this rainstorm specifically
just for this. It's great.
Just for this particular thing. Actually, it's been really bad here the past days. I couldn't sleep last.
For me, it's the opposite. Whenever it's storming, I get some great sleep. I don't know why. I love the sound of storming.
So first, we're gonna do your bear riders, Farron. Okay, great, good.
Jesus.
That's not bad.
You rang.
And then we're gonna do the mounted dudes. Okay, good. And then going to do.
Wait, did Hannibal actually roll something higher than fucking 10 again? Clap. Good job, Hannibal.
What'd you say?
You rolled higher than 10 on
They
the
rolled
initiative.
bad.
Oh yeah, I know, it's a rare thing. Since the
Guys.
Siege of Middenheim started, I've actually started rolling well for initiative.
It's like Hannibal's ready.
Well, this is literally what Hannibal has led up to.
Then need the scouts.
Cat the fuck you want.
Scouts are gonna roll. Jeez, I'm rolling just bad all across the board. This is not Olympus last week, clearly. I don't know if they told you what happened in Olympus last week.
God fucking damn
it. It was so bad. I rolled 3 20s and a 19 on 5 attacks.
Damn, you guys go fuck.
That's the dice roll. The dice roll I rolled
almost fucking like max damage
on every single one.
On every single one.
So is that a new crew or what?
He literally almost blew me out of the sky with tanks. Literally what happened.
Yeah, there was like such a low percentage for me to really even do anything.
But you were just nailing it. You're just like,
nope,
not today.
6 shots, he got like crits, 19.
5 shots. The damage
on almost all of them.
Yeah, the damage dice were D10s. And I rolled below a 6 once on 3, 6, 9, 12 dice. On 12 D10s, I rolled below a 6 once.
I am sorry. Jesus.
I literally almost blew up the ship in 1 round of combat. It was pretty fantastic. Clearly that is not the case today, though, if you look at my initiatives here. So you guys are fine. It'll be fine. No problem.
Yeah, even I have a high
so,
initiative.
What the fuck you want?
So Jericho, as kind of per the usual, you're first on the list.
Hello.
You don't have a whole lot of insight in the first turn here to know that there's some long drawn out battle going on, but as turns progress, there'll be more insight and more ability to identify problems. The scouts like up front are going to have more of an opportunity to like warn you guys to travel. But knowing that you're going into a battle, right? Like, you know that at least. You just don't know the situation. You don't know that Kree's forces are kind of surrounded right now. Like, what would you do to prepare? You could, like, ask for information from Silny. There's a lot of, whatever your creative mind can come up with here. You could play a tune for the troops to, inspire them, maybe.
There's a good chance that he'll try to do that, although that probably once they get closer, seeing as I think we still have a fair distance of city to cover.
Yeah, a couple of rounds, because remember, these rounds, when we're doing this overarching combat, are pretty abstracted. It could be 10 minutes.
When he's got a round or two before we're likely to actually engage, he'll start with the proper rallying music.
Yeah. Cool.
Prior to that, probably nothing that he can determine from our surroundings that would be particularly useful information for the battle up ahead.
Roll a perception check, because there might be something here that you notice that you might be able to act on, now that I'm thinking about it.
Cool. Oh my god.
13's not great. So I think that you guys are. By the way, I'm gonna move everyone a little bit because you guys are further along here than what was shown previously. So you're entering kind of into the area that you grew up in, et cetera, et cetera. But you've also been kind of staking out here for a while, and I would think that Jericho would find it a little bit suspicious that you're not just avoiding undead, you're moving 800 people through the part of the city, right?
And we're just not running into the undead much.
Yeah, there's just not a whole lot of activity going on in this particular area.
That's unsettling, to be sure.
Yeah, definitely a piece of information there. But again, it's just, you're not certain. You're like, maybe they're killing them all ahead of me.
I do have someone who was, up until like an hour ago, an active member of the necromantic forces. So
correct.
I think he might look to Silny and ask her, were they expecting to be using the undead for something specific today? Were they being taken anywhere?
Yeah, and I think she kind of says, yes, we were moving.
Where to?
North. They said that there were locations that needed to be protected. But I was simply just enjoying the quiet time.
Right. No, fair enough. Locations to be protected. All right. I'm probably going to ask about that again as soon as we're done not dying down in the south. Also, just a quick question, because I feel like we sort of addressed this earlier, but point is, and he uses his cape to put on again the guise of the necromancer, who he personally considers his nemesis right now. You really don't recognize this face?